Okay, now in five, four, three, two, one, and I'm about to click play. All right, let's go. What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Variety Views. I'm your host, the Variety Vendor, and I decided to try something new. Um, I always thought that the Nolan trilogy kind of, people kind of put it on a high pedestal and say like it's the greatest and everything, especially the Dark Knight. And I will get to the Dark Knight. But this is a trial run. I just wanted to really take you on a journey with me as I rewatch the Nolan trilogy. Actually, it's one of those trilogies that I like to go back and watch. And sometimes whenever I watch Batman Begins, I'm like, I gotta watch The Dark Knight. And when I finish watching The Dark Knight, I'm like, I gotta watch Dark Knight Rises as well. It's really a trilogy that really has held up all these years, and it's a lot like I feel like the first two Terminator movies. Whenever I watch the first Terminator movie, I gotta watch the second one, or even the Back to the Future trilogy. It just makes me want more. I want more of that story, that lore. Um, but yeah, Batman Begins came out in 2005. Wasn't big. It slowly it was a sleeper hit, I think. It's one of those movies that gained traction as time went on, and I remember seeing it for. I remember for the first time there were talks about it, and back in like '04, '03, end of '03 and beginning of '04, where weirdly enough I remember seeing Tom Cruise as being one of the people pegged to be in Batman Begins, and that's something that nobody talks about. But I think Tom Cruise had a lot of things going on for him, and then later on, then Nolan decided to go with somebody completely different because that's not the person that he wanted. So yeah, I remember still photos of Tom Cruise, in a suit, and there was like the headline and everything, written underneath it, where it was like, he might be the new Batman, and I remember being hyped. I was like, man, Tom Cruise as Batman, that's great, great casting. And I am the devil. I really like this scene. And Christian Bale is definitely one of the greatest actors in cinema of all time. Not just, of modern era or 21st century or anything like that. No, of all time. He really knows how to act with his eyes. I love that. I love that about Christian Bale, where you get so much from his character through his eyes. It's great stuff. Great stuff. This was around the time where Paul Greengrass, I think, who did the Born. He did the Supremacy and Born Ultimatum, and that's when all the shaky cam, came in. You know, and I always hated that. I hated that, and I feel like it started in the Bourne trilogy, mostly in Supremacy, but I feel like it went overboard in the Dark Knight trilogy, and I feel like after that everybody was like, okay, let's just do that, let's do it like that. It worked for them, they're making millions of dollars, so let's do that. Decard. Liam Neeson is also another guy that he acts through his eyes as well, where you see a lot of things going on in his character, through his eyes. It really, it's magnificent, because like there are actors who don't look into the camera or don't show you their eyes. They look away, they look down, they look up, but Look at Liam Neeson right here. You look the as the camera is zooming into his eyes, it there's more to it. There's this sense of intimacy. Like it's kind of like this person wants to be in your life, and you're trying to. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Self to an idea. I got the subtitles on because like I don't. The thing is like if I had the volume cranked up, and the sound design is absolutely amazing in these Nolan movies. Nolan is definitely one of the kings of sound design, but I feel like at the same time, like it's just I can't if I'm listening to what's going on, then it's hard for me to talk. So it's like I get distracted a little bit. So and I don't want like a long instance of silence in this, because we're watching it together. So I'm guessing what happened was Descartes pretty much bailed him out. You see Bruce walking and walking and walking. Honestly, I really do think that Batman Begins is as high of a regard as the Nolan movies are being put, like in this high pedestal. I do think that still Batman Begins is very, very underrated. In many ways, I do think that it's better than The Dark Knight. You can talk about how great The Dark Knight was and how influential it was, and I will get to it. I will believe me, I got a lot of things to talk about when it comes to The Dark Knight. But Batman Begins is such a simple and effective movie. Forget about the fact that it's Batman. Forget about that. And you delve so much into Bruce Wayne that really Christian Bale, man, he is the best Bruce Wayne. I've grown to really see it. After multiple viewings, I now get it. I think that he is the best Bruce Wayne, more so than anybody else. You can talk about the suave that Adam West had in the '66, and you can even go back to like the '40s. I thought that Batman was great as well. Like I remember watching him a few years ago. Well, actually, leading into the Dark Knight, I decided to watch anything that had to do with Batman, and I remember there were a lot of scenes that really made me go, "Wow, that is." Like I still remember that scene with Batman in the Batcave, even though you had a weird, weird like toy bat, flying around. He, I don't know, but that scene just sticks with me with him in the Batcave and just contemplating his next move, and then Robin walks in and ruins everything. Yeah, I think that's Ken Watanabe. I think I could be wrong with the names. I'm always the worst when it comes to names, but yeah, that's we find out later that that's a fake Ra's al Ghul. And that's another thing. Being Arab, it's always Ras al Ghul. It's not Raish. It's not Raish. There's no H. Okay? It's Raz. It's Raz. Raz means head. And Ghoul, it actually Ghoul translates to ogre, not demon. Ghoul is more it means more like ogre, more so than a demon. So they should have gone with like Raz al Shaitan, as in like demon. I feel like this is what got Liam Neeson to be in the Taken movies when they realize, oh, this dude kicks ass. You didn't know when he was in Dark Man, for God's sakes? Another underrated movie, which a lot of people started talking about it again, especially with James Rolfe and doing like his Angry Video Game Nerd episode on Dark Man. And a lot of people starting to talk about that again, especially since Sam Raimi is directing the new Doctor Strange movie. So there are people that are looking back at like the Sam Raimi filmography, and what an amazing filmography Sam Raimi had. And another thing, it makes me wonder, what if Sam Raimi, instead of going for Spider-Man, what if he went with Batman instead? I mean, we could have gotten that great balance of the crazy Tim Burton stuff, but a little bit more grounded. Because I feel like Sam Raimi, he does go sometimes overboard, but not to the point where it takes you out of the movie. You know? Because like Sam Raimi, it really feels like he does what he likes, but at the same time entertains. While Tim Burton wants to entertain himself, basically. Every project is a passion project for him, where it's more so like, oh, it's for me. If I like it and nobody does, who cares? But with Sam Raimi, it's like, hey, I want to share what I like, and that's why I think like the Spider-Man movies were just so awesome. I never understood why like Bruce was like, why Thomas went to Bruce and he's like, hey, you think she's gonna like those pearls? And Bruce is like, oh, it's so beautiful. Well, I don't think any kid would be like that. He'd be like, oh yeah, cool. Mom's gonna like it. Whatever. And tickle fight when you're 11, for God's sakes. Come on. That kid is thinking about boobs right now. Well, at that time, 2005. And that's, they never really explained the Wayne Enterprise thing. It's so weird because like Thomas owns all of this, yet he's got people working for that. But I don't know much about the Wayne family. I would have liked if there was a little bit more. Not here. They could have like talked about this in like the sequels, because we already got so much to figure out. And this must be like the longest screen time that the that the Wayne family has gotten before Bang Bang. What are we up to? We're like 13 minutes. Yeah, it's not that far off. We're not that far from the inevitable you know, see you later of the Batman movie. And what a dick. That's another thing. I even forgot to mention this. What a dick is Thomas. It's like, oh, you had another nightmare. You scared of bats. Let's go watch a freaking stage performance of bats. I mean, for God's sakes. What a bad dad. Now let's go through this dark alley, this shady alley. Like, aren't there any other exits? But this is great stuff, though. This is great stuff. I don't want to take so much of the emotions of this scene, but at the same time, I really want to talk about how Thomas. It you look at him and he wanted to do the right thing. He didn't fight. He didn't fight Joe Chill. He was like, it's fine. Take your money and go. Take the money and just fucking leave. And the pearls meant so much. They meant so much to because it's a gift. It's a sentimental gift. This kid is awesome. He's awesome. I would have loved if we got to see more of him in this movie, where we got to see him grow up. Maybe a little bit of him being mentored by Alfred. Gary Oldman, awesome. Just coming out of Prisoner of Azkaban, into this, just great actor. He's really one of those guys that gets lost into his characters to the point where, and I think a lot of people have mentioned this before, where whenever you hear Gary Oldman was in a certain movie, you're like, oh yeah, or you get the other you know the other reaction of, what, really? He was that dude? Like, some people forget he was in Fifth Element, you know, or Leon the Professional. Just a lot of awesome movies that he just gets so lost into, whether it's a different look or a different acting style. It's just, Gary Oldman is amazing, absolutely amazing. And we got Michael Caine. This guy, you can tell, like, he's totally bad news. Like, as soon as you see him, it's like, oh, don't worry, like, your father's company's gonna be in good hands. So, like, yeah. This scene always gets to me. This scene always gets to me. This is like the most exposed Bruce has ever been, and then afterwards he just shut off, and it's just, this is so beautiful yet heartbreaking at the same time. Best Michael Caine performance in the trilogy. I feel like it was him here, like in this movie. Like, Alfred felt like he had more to do, and Batman Begins more so in the sequels. Um, I got so much to talk about in the sequels, because a lot of I feel like there were a lot of actors that really took a back seat to the plot and to the main three characters of the Dark Knight. See, they were talking about. I remember there were a few nitpickers out there, and believe me, I like to nitpick as well. Especially in movies that I absolutely adore. Um, yeah, look at that for freaking Jack Christian Bale before he got skinny again, because, like, he bulked up way too much. I remember reading about that, before the movie was released. Um, and yeah, like, while they were fighting with swords here, there were a few people that, when they nitpick, they're like, why didn't they use real swords? Look, here's the thing. I don't care if they use or don't use real swords, or like the CGI is not up to par. If you give me good enough characters, I get lost in it. That's it. If I understand what you're going for, that's all that matters. You know? Don't focus on that. And for the filmmaker, they shouldn't focus on that either. They should focus more so on the characters. Like, if we got like a zoom in to the eyes more so, like, the old, Kurosawa movies, I think, it would have been much more effective. And you get a sense of scale. That's what I love about Nolan, is that you get a sense of scale in the area that they are, more so, like, you don't feel like it's in a soundstage or whatever. You're like, oh, this feels like a place. Like, it's like in a fighting game, when you see the arena, you're like, oh, feels like a living, breathing, like sometimes the scenery can be a character in its own. You know, they haven't beaten me. Okay. And that's another thing. Like, some people say like there wasn't enough comedy in the Nolan movies. That was funny. You started off with frickin' Finders Keepers, for God's sakes. This is a very important, very important lines coming out of Liam Neeson here. And it's a callback that you'll get a callback in Dark Knight Rises, which I feel like, Nolan had this all along. He he planned this out. This wasn't like a line for the sake of being a line. It's not just, oh, Liam Neeson's trying to get his Oscar moment, or it was a moment just to, for fans to remember in this movie in its own bubble. No, it's something that would play out um, in the next few movies. And it's very important that Liam Neeson, Descartes, pretty much, what he said to Bale was like, he pretty much gave him a different perspective on taking somebody's life. And maybe that wasn't, Descartes' intention. He was trying to tell him one thing, but Batman, Bruce Wayne, had a different thought. It affected him in a different manner as he's walking up the stairs in Wayne Manor. Great acting from Michael Caine. Great acting. This is why I say, like, he was so underutilized in the sequels. I really feel like here he was used to his full potential, and not just that, but he made an impact. You know, and the other movies, it was like, yeah, Michael Caine was in those. Okay. But here it's like, no, Michael Caine was in it. He was in Batman Begins. He's a very important part of Batman Begins. Okay, this scene. This scene right here. Look at the way he looks at his kid right there, man. It was like, what is this scene? Say something. I always found that creepy. Like, it was such a creepy moment. Is that your heart, Dad? It's like, come on. Come on. So creepy. It, who always has a loaded gun? I mean, come on. Who always has a loaded gun? And it's one of those guns that I don't think it even has a safety. So it can pretty much go off by like it's in your pocket and you sneeze and boom, you lost a kneecap. I'll I'll say this right now: Katie Holmes better than Maggie Gyllenhaal. She felt like she was invested in this movie. There's a lot of staring here. There's a lot of staring. Nobody blinks here. Well, as I say that, you see Katie Holmes blink, 3 times. But there is a lot of staring. Like, it really feels like like the entire cast didn't sleep for a week, while they were filming this. Establishing shot. Um, yeah, with Nolan, his way of filming reminds me a lot of my favorite director, Alfred Hitchcock, where there are a lot of establishing shots, and I feel like to show you where they're at, and a sense of scale. Like, this is an actual place. and everything is so grand, like Hitchcock movies, you know. And I feel like, and that's the thing with Alfred Hitchcock. He would always talk about, trying these things that weren't in the budget or weren't even invented yet. And then later on, when it was invented and, you know, it was something that was possible, they started taking those ideas. And I really feel like Hitchcock, if he was alive today, he'd be making best movie of the year after best movie of the year after best movie of the year. He's really, Hitchcock is definitely um, one of those people that really died too soon. You can say that about a lot of people, but Hitchcock to me is like somebody that really could have influenced much, much more than he already did. When I first saw this, they really got me. They really got me, and this goes to show how Nolan is great at um, giving you something, planning an idea in your mind. And because we saw Bruce with the gun, we saw him, talking about his parents being murdered, and you know the justice system is corrupt, and stuff like that. You got all of that, and you got the shot, and here they're still talking about this, and you think like, for me, I still thought that Bruce killed him. He was the one that shot Joe Chill, but as we found out later on, you know in like a minute, he didn't do that. Bruce didn't do it. His only opportunity, and it was taken away from him. It's like while she's saying all these things, she's got a smirk on her face. Like, I just said something poignant. Like, I said something very, very important. I remember saying this for the first time, and that pissed me off. I was like, "How dare you?" He, that's Bruce Wayne. And ooh, that gut punch. Your father would be ashamed of you. It's like, oh man, that sucks. It's like kicking man while he's down. This movie's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I think it's still the shortest of the Nolan trilogy. But you had a lot to unpack. You had like, I'm sure if I was in Nolan's shoes as well, I'd be like, yeah, this is a story that needs to be told in its full length. You don't cut too much out. There are some scenes here that I think that could have been cut out, but at the same time, I do think that everything is all important. You know, I feel like this was a scene that wasn't needed, but at the same time, I feel like it adds more color to the characters. Like with Falcone, with the corrupt system, because you take the scene out, you already know. You already know. Like the city is corrupt, and Falcone is like the top honcho of Gotham. You could have just had Bruce just throw away the gun and then walk away, not even get into this establishment. But at the same time, it was one of those things for the viewer where Bale is like, pretty much, Bruce Wayne is was kind of like with Falcone. You kind of see in his eyes where it's like, this is not the last that you'll see of me. I will stand up to you, and I'll be much, much worse later on. You got a lot. You got yeah. You got spirit, kid. I'll give you that. Great American accent from him. Name escapes me again. I remember him from a lot of Guy Ritchie movies. He always that look that he just ran a marathon where it's like, hey. You see, this is what I love about this movie is that every person means something. Even this homeless guy, right? It could have been like he could have been there as a throwaway joke. It's a nice coat, like you look at the Marvel movies and you know with the MCU, like how many side characters or like just that aren't affiliated with the Avengers or like the villains, like just civilians that you remember. Like the only one that I can remember is the reporter in the first Iron Man movie, you know, or the judge, that was in Iron Man 2, or uh, you know, Tommy Lee Jones in Captain America. And it's weird. It's like all of that was in like the first um and the first phase of the MCU, and then they just completely lost it where they focused more on the main characters more so than building a world. It felt fake. After a while it just feels fake. It just feels like cosplay. While here it feels like a living, breathing world where you can actually be there. It's much more relatable. I really wanted to make a video about this right here, the League of Shadows and stuff. I never liked how they kept on giving Batman more and more things. You're either a ninja or a detective, okay? Or the gadget guy, like a James Bond. But they combined everything. They're like, no, he's James Bond. He's a ninja. He's smart. He's great at everything. I did not like that. So if you strip all those down, strip all the way the gadgets, and keep it simple. Okay, he's a ninja. Work with that. He doesn't need all the armor. You know, ninjas don't need armor because like that weighs them down. A samurai is different than a ninja. A samurai has all that armor because he's going into battle all the time. He's right there. That's why they wear colorful armor, is because it's them going into battle. It's like, hey, mano a mano. While a ninja's a lot more sneaky. He's a lot more um, he's a lot more about infiltration rather than being in battle. And like I like this idea of like, oh, that he's being taught how to be a trickster, how to um, pretty much face his own fears and be one with the darkness. Become one with the darkness, as he says that. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking as a before you even said it. But yeah, like that's the idea. Okay, fine. He's a ninja. Cool. Let him be a ninja. But all that armor and the gadgets and everything, then you kind of you kind of box yourself in a corner where it's like if he's got all these abilities, then there's no struggle. What's the struggle? Great moment of him learning from his mistakes and using that error as a point of advantage. Cannot leave any sign. Well, actually, I did, but it was a distraction. It wasn't like I haven't. Come on. You did. You did leave a sign. That was the point. It was a trap. It's a trap! I don't want to look anything up, but I do think that's Ken Watanabe. That's something that it's not that important, but it's one of those things where I kind of questioned where it was is the League of Shadows like do they own the land that they're in? Like are they the government of where they're at? I don't know. And they're like, we're gonna purge Gotham. We're gonna make it. Well, it doesn't look like that you're making any difference in the place that you're in already, and you want to fix other places. It's like you got to fix yourself first. You got to heal yourself before you heal others. That's what I think. I never understood why Gotham. It's a city that's destroyed, but everybody wants to rule Gotham. Like, what is so cool about Gotham? It's like, no, I want to be there, and I want to be the kingpin. Well, you make it sound like it's a wonderful city. It's like aliens come in, and they're like, oh, we want to take over Gotham. Why? Why? Why Gotham of all places? Or rather, take over Hogwarts over Gotham. There is something that I also noticed in the Nolan movies, and it is something that I have noticed for a long while, um, and I'm sure that there are people out there that have talked about this before, because you know more people are brighter than me for sure. I'm not the brightest bulb in the house, but at the same time, I have noticed a few things. This is probably the most fantastical of the Nolan trilogy, and there's no Lazarus Pit. There's no um there's nothing like too crazy about this. They never talk about like Ra's al Ghul being around for 6,000 years or anything like that. They're they're just saying like, yeah, I mean the dude just has the League of Shadows. That's it. The one thing, the one thing that I don't like about Nolan movies is the action. That's it. The fight, or I should say, the fight choreography, not the actual action, because he does well in car chases and stuff on, that has to do with vehicles and that. But when it comes to fight scenes, hand to hand combat, the choreography and his way of shooting it, it's not that good. It's not that good. And he saves them. You could have had like you could have had like the entire movie of Bruce and Descartes trying to get back into civilization, like them learning more about each other, them talking and kind of trying to survive in the wilderness, and so it would make it that much more effective and that much more heartbreaking for when Descartes, um, shows his true colors. More so because honestly, like I don't give a shit about Gotham. I don't like there's nothing going on in Gotham at that time, and in the Batman Begins movie, like you have great actors in like a guy who was playing Carmine Falcone and Scarecrow, but at the same time, it's not. It wasn't like they were the end all be all. It wasn't like they were the main villains. It was just a side thing that went on for too long. I really think that they would have saved a lot of money by just shooting like 70% of the movie in the wilderness, wherever they were at, and just it being the story of Bruce trying to survive with Descartes and finally getting back into civilization. And you could have had like the third act, Descartes showing his true colors, and as Bruce is pretty much, gaining all these, and they could have even teamed up in Gotham and trying to take out bad guys, but Descartes is going overboard, where he's killing the criminals, and Bruce is like, no, that's not how we do things. That's not the way that we should be doing things. And you could have had like a fight at the end with Ducard and Bruce, where it would have been much more emotional, where you know Bruce has the opportunity to kill Ducard, but he doesn't. And Ducard goes to jail. I think that would have been um, a much better meaty story. I feel. And Killian Murphy, just absolutely amazing, coming off his what was it, 24 days, 28 days later, great zombie flick. Very, very underrated actor. And by the way, he was also in the running to be Batman. He was supposed to be like, because I do think like he would have been a great Batman, but not that good of a Bruce Wayne. He does have this face of like villainous, that villainous face where it's like, yeah, I wouldn't root for you. So great on them for going for Christian Bale. Perfect casting. And earlier we saw Victor Zaz, and again, I would have liked more of Victor Zaz. He didn't even have a line. Just such a beautiful mansion, by the way. I never understood why Bruce would want to have um the Batcave be so far down, and how in the hell did was he able to, you know, work it out pretty much all on his own. Maybe a little help from Alfred, but all on his own. It's like, I don't know. I can suspend my disbelief, but at the same time, and I remember first time I'm seeing it, oh my god, it's the Batcave. But when you start and think about it, and you're like, I don't know. I mean, like if he had a panic room, and it's just it's a place where he's able to deduce criminal activity and shit like that. It's fine, but going way underground and being like, oh, this is where bats nest, so perfect place. Shitty Wi-Fi spot, but all right, it's good. It's good. I like the smell of the shit that because I guarantee you there's a lot of droppings here. Wouldn't be surprised if most of the hills were made out of bat shit. You see, those two actors are so great as in just talking, and even if the you're not interested in what they're saying, but you're interested in them. Like that's how I feel. I'm just interested in those two, just talking to each other and interacting with each other. That's it. I'm like, yeah, give them more screen time, but at the same time, I don't care. Yeah, we got a shipment. Yeah, no, coming in. It's like, this whole thing could have been like, just Scarecrow, or Jonathan Crane being on the phone and being like, oh, you got a shipment coming in? Oh, okay, cool. That's it. And then you cut. But them being on screen, they're so. Um, I thought this was John Voight. First time I saw this, like, was that John Voight? But yeah, like their interaction is so, like, Killian Murphy, like Jonathan Crane and Carmine Falcone. They're so good that you kind of forget about what they're talking about. If it was anybody else, you'd be like, oh my god, well, let's get to the next scene. It looks like a meeting for those who vote on which one should get which movie should get an Oscar. They're just old, white people. That's it. But it makes sense. It makes sense. There's this. This is why I feel like Bruce Wayne should never be black. I don't think that Batman should ever be black, because it is that idea of being that person of privilege, of such high privilege, that his downfall is much greater. Like when he falls, harder than anybody else, and it's about him getting back up. And it might be easier for him than anybody else, and he sees that, and that is the reason why he helps people. Morgan Freeman, again, this cast was star-studded. The most star-studded cast of all the Probably all of the Nolan movies, not just, the Dark Knight trilogy. I really think this movie should have been called Dark Knight Begins rather than Batman Begins. Because, like, you got Dark Knight, The Dark Knight, you got Dark Knight Rises. This should have been, like, The Dark Knight Begins. But then again, I understand. Name recognition, all that. Again, these things that is afforded to Bruce, that is given to Bruce, it's just, I don't know. It screams like, why would you want these things? It's like they spend so much money on getting these things, and they're just, oh, this is a prototype, and this is a prototype, and this is a prototype, but it's never used in, for anybody else. It was supposed to be like given to the military and stuff like that, but they're like, well, the military doesn't need it, so we're just gonna keep it in storage. Well, get rid of it, just destroy it. And Morgan Freeman is such a he has such a kind face. He has kind eyes and a kind voice that while he's talking, he can be saying the most ridiculous things, like, Bruce, yeah, okay, you want enough firepower to take over the world? Ah, yeah, it's yours anyways. I believe in you. And you're like, yay! Bruce is gonna become Batman. But I really feel like if it was coming out of anybody else's mouth, it wouldn't have been well received. But it's Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman can make anything work. See that's good dialogue, where it's not like ham-fisted. It's not too funny. It's just it's normal. There's humor, but there's a bit of normalcy in the humor, where it's like it can come out of anybody's mouth. Them saying stuff like that. I love the banter. You could have had a 2 hour movie of just Alfred and Bruce Wayne, talking about what to get and how to fix up things. It's just it's great. I love it. And for some seeing this, I thought this was Harvey Bullock. This guy is such a great actor that he changes his look every year, and it just like you kind of forget that he was in something. I think he was in Fantastic Beasts. He's got much thinner now. A little bit of year one, and how they say like sometimes like Nolan did his own thing. No, he got a lot of inspiration. I feel like from the comics. There's a lot of inspiration from that. Even with the corrupt police and Jim Gordon trying. There's a weird cut. He walks in and just like he's right there. If they kept it that way with Bruce, with Batman, where he's simple, he's got the simple outfit. Okay, fine. He's got the tactical gear. Okay, not too much. Don't give him all the weird gadgets. Now we're two. Just to show how important Jim Gordon is in this story. And he plays a bigger part in The Dark Knight. But again, I feel like there are much more characters that are remembered in this movie more so than the sequels. There's some nut, and they completely forget about it. They don't go after him or anything. But the way that I see it is that Jim Gordon knew that that guy was, that Bruce is a good guy. So he just didn't, he didn't call it in. It was like, oh, just forget about it. Memory cloth. It's so cool. It's a cool idea. I love the ideas. Don't get me wrong, I love the gadgets. It's just like, I feel like that they are not needed. You know? It's not. All these things. I don't like the idea of Bruce having an answer to everything. And the tumbler, my God, like, he's supposed to be sneaky, and he's driving around a tank. How in the hell can he sneak around with a tank? As much as I love the Batmobile, and I love the look of it, and I like the Tumbler as well. I like all the Batmobiles. But and it's a cool idea. It's a cool idea for kids, And when I was a kid, I had all the Batmobiles, where I would like play with them and shit. But at the same time, Batman doesn't need a car. He doesn't. And it's not just that, but it's also comes with the idea of him sneaking around. He doesn't want to be noticed. So him being in the middle of traffic, it's like a freaking a traffic jam in Highway 6, and it's like, oh come on, I got to help out the cops, and he's just like in the middle of the freeway. It's like, come on. Like, Gotham is supposed to be in New York, right? Isn't it like the one of the most populated areas in the freaking world? You see, he wants a bulletproof mask. He doesn't need a bulletproof mask because he's not planning on getting shot in the face. And the other thing is, the reason why I don't think that he should have that much armor is because the idea is that Bruce, whenever he goes out every night, he knows the like he knows what's on stake. He knows what he's putting on the line. And Bruce has a death wish. So if he dies, he doesn't care. It's like, if I die, I die. That's the whole idea of Batman, is that when he goes out there, he's got a death wish. Oh, I can totally tell that you're scared of bats. This right here is the best scene in, I would say, like in maybe like all the Batman movies, all the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. It is yet to be topped. There have been great scenes, but this, in my opinion, is the best scene right here. It's like it's a freaking horror movie. I love this. And I can tell, like, Zack Snyder got inspiration from this in Batman v Superman. The look of dread in those people. It's like, whoops, that was supposed to stick. It's intense. It's just mwah, beautiful. Great stuff. Dude looks like a young Antonio Banderas. You killed my father. Prepare to die. This is the best line that Christian Bale ever had in The Cruise. Right here. Here. Awesome. Awesome. The only thing that I would take away from this is like the fight choreography, but everything else just beautiful. I wish we didn't see that. I wish we didn't see him like, fight them. Just like it cuts and everybody's down. And the lights are flickering as he's coming towards the car. Callback. Nice coat. And it's all raggedy because he's had it for years. And it's great that Bruce remembered him. It's a badass line. It's a badass moment, even though that it doesn't make sense. Like, why would he acknowledge a homeless guy? But it's great. Why would he wait for her to get out of the train to pretty much get to her? Like, there was nobody in the train, right? He got really quick in perching himself up. bat signal. Just a lot of great ways of how long has he been up there? Shouldn't he been getting like freaking you know, like third-degree burns? And he looks so comfortable on it. It's like, don't wake me. Beautiful shot. I love this. Like a freaking gargoyle. It didn't need to be there, but it's great. What's up with uh great stuff. Again, Katie Holmes is just great. It's a nocturnal. See, there's the comedy is there, but it's not overwhelming the scenes. That's what I like about it. You could say it like it was a fencing injury or something. What is in that shake? And right away he's going for friggin' push-ups. Usually when I wake up, I have a sudden urge to frickin' piss. But he's like, no, I'm gonna have more fluids and do more push-ups. This is so like old school, superhero stuff where there's like this techno babble and this weird machine, and it's a vaporizer. Yeah, okay. Kind of like the War of the Worlds monsters that came out that same year. But it's so fantastical. You can't help but say like, yeah, that's a comic book movie. That's a superhero movie, of course. And those that can't that say that Bale didn't wasn't good as Bruce. I mean, like, look at him. There's a lot of quick, snappy cuts where it's like here we go, this happens, that happens. There's not a lot of long shots unless it's important dialogue. This isn't important, and it shows. Like even Nolan is showing you like, this isn't important. It's just part of the character. Just a way to color in the characters. He just gave a check to the concierge. It's like That's like me going to a supermarket and buying the supermarket by giving the money to the clerk. It's like, yeah, just because he works there doesn't mean he owns it. But, it was, you know, it was like a, big dick move. So, of course, it makes sense with Bruce Wayne.
Wow, it's good to see you. We've got a long time. How are things? Life's getting worse. Can't change the world on your own. What choice do I have?
Again, he says so much through his eyes.
Are you too busy swimming? Rachel, all this, it's not
It's not me.
it's inside. I am.
One thing that I don't like is they never explained why Bruce was a playboy, why he wanted to do all this.
Bruce, deep down.
If they used a little bit from The Dark Knight Returns, where Bruce is a thrill seeker, he's like this billionaire playboy that's going on to racetracks and getting into car wrecks to just so that he can let people forget or even look into whether or not he's Batman and to explain those injuries that he was getting, while he's out, fighting crime. That would be better. That would be much better. But him being a playboy, it feels like it was put in here just because that's who Bruce Wayne is. Like, how can you not? You know? It's like Superman wears a cape. Why does he wear a cape? Well, because Superman, you know? There's not much of an explanation why they're doing what they're doing, but there are times where there's not an explanation. There are times where there's too much explanation. It's like with Batman, the reason why he wears a cape is because that cape is like part of his artillery. There's the memory cloth. He uses it to glide. It helps him parachute into, to have safe landings and stuff.
I've been bringing this stuff for months. So whenever he's playing, it's big. And I want it.
I already know he'll stay. Aren't you, Kate?
I know you got that in there. Not in my town.
Would you like to see my mask?
Would you like to see me next?
Yeah. He's such a great villain, but very underutilized in all of the Batman movies. Even though that he's used much more here, still.
He's
Them talking about Arkham, it's and all these references, it always brought a smile to my face whenever I'm watching it. Because your mind wanders and you're thinking about all these ideas and all the potential that they could have.
This number's getting jumpy because we stood up the front row.
It's a start. Your arguments with the gospel flood coming.
The Moonlights is a low-level enforcement.
We're splitting the shipment in two. Only half of the dealers.
Why?
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know why Batman is perched up like that. He could be like standing upright and looking down, but aesthetically, it is pleasing to the eye. You see that and you're like, oh, this is great.
I think you're trying to help.
I always like the intimate shots, but I wish there was like a much more of like a panning shot where you get to see like the entire scope where Batman is talking to Commissioner Gordon. It would make for like a nice, I feel like a nice framed photo. Well, they don't like falafel. Boom. This is the first time where we get that Batman voice, that gravelly voice. We got that, and when he was during the scene in the docks, which I thought was like, to right now, even to this day, I still think it's like the best scene, best Batman scene in the trilogy. Um, he had more of a whispery voice, where it's like, where are they? And or like when they were asking like, who are you? Uh, or what was it? It was like, they said, well, like, where are you? And he was like, here. But when he's screaming here and it's like, where was the other drugs? Here's the thing. I never had a problem with the voice. Honestly. I really never had a problem with the voice. I always thought that the voice um, was very distinctive. Okay? Number one, if you're talking in like logically, I think the reason why he does that is because, he's so into the Batman character that he feels like a different person, and the worst comes out of him, the ugliness comes out of him, whether it's the voice, the look, the everything, the fear that he gives. It's all of that. It's part of it, and Christian Bale really embodies that. And number two, differentiate his voice, his Batman voice, from his Bruce Wayne voice. To the point where they're very distinctive, and you're like, and if anybody in the Gotham area, they'd be like, no way, that's Bruce Wayne. That Batman's way scarier. He's got a gravelly voice. He's scarier.
It's you, isn't it? Everybody's been talking about it. The other kids would believe it.
Yeah, nobody believes me. All right, then you can have my binoculars. It's like, it's high tech equipment. You're gonna give it to a kid. But it goes to show, like, Batman has a heart. Bruce Wayne has a heart. It's more so than, kicky punchy. He's got a heart. And I love that moment where you saw, like, Batman kneel and, hidden in the shadows. But he's a lot less stealthy as the movies progress. Great shot. Hmm. Yeah, I can't see anything, even though the street lights are blaring into the apartment. So I'm gonna use a lighter. I'm like, fine. You need to lighten up. I love that. You see, that's the thing. That's what makes it different from, what killed the dinosaurs, the Ice Age, the Mr. Freeze and Batman and Robin, is what he's saying. The stuff that he's saying is much more badass. You need to lighten up. I mean, come on. And that's the thing that I love about these characters. And again, going back to the voice, the Batman voice. Also think about it this way. Um, Batman has a unique voice. That voice, the gravelly voice, is so unique that if you make if you do an impression of him, everybody else will know where that's from. But if you do like the regular Batman voice, from like the animated series or the Keaton version, or any of the other movies, it's like all you got to do is just be monotone and whisper, and it can sound like any actor in any movie. Especially movies nowadays where everybody just whispers. So that's another thing, with Batman, it's much more iconic, it's much more memorable. It sticks with you, which is why I think it's a great voice, you know. You think of, Macho Man Randy Savage or Hulk Hogan, all these iconic voices, or Arnold, Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone. Batman is, I feel like Batman is just as iconic. The Dark Knight is just as iconic.
Weaponized in aerosol form.
You have been hanging out in the wrong place, mister.
I go into some frustrated condition will see what happens to it.
I analyzed the blood, isolating over 7,000 pounds of protein-based atoms.
Technobabble. A lot of technobabble.
I just wanted you to know how
Morgan Freeman could have just said, like, I fixed you up. But all that technobabble, whatever reason that you get to just hear more of Morgan Freeman, it's always awesome.
Cakes. Passing out the weaponized hallucinogens.
I'll bring what I know. The antidotes are not ready.
Lucius. You sure you don't?
I just wanted to read this.
Rachel?
Looks like someone's been burning the candle at both ends.
Here you go, Bruce. Just walks away. Take your shit, I'm leaving.
Sorry, I can't come tonight. I was just dropping off your present.
And this is another thing that I like about
For 2 days.
this movie, is that Alfred is not doing everything. He's not helping around the house in every little thing. You can tell, you can see in the background, there are helpers. There are butlers and other butlers and maids. It's a huge house. And I always hated whenever they have a Batman movie and it's just Alfred. Alfred is the only guy that's working in this entire mansion. It's like, Bruce, just freaking live in an apartment, for God's sakes. Alfred is like 120. Let him be.
The monster waiting to get them moving right. You keep them happy until I arrive. Tell them they're joking.
And that MacGuffin is very like they never talk about it. They never say what it is. They never, but it's such an important thing that connects him with his Bruce side of things, the Bruce side of his life, of his past.
It's a big shot like you, but in a place like this.
Some information. Wayne, Bruce and me were meant to be.
It's a microwave designed to vaporize the enemy's water supply. They tested dispersing water-based chemical agents into the air, but isn't that illegal?
Half of the stuff that you have is illegal, for God's sakes.
Developing infrastructure. All data, files, backup disks on my desk.
Did you lose one?
I'm merging her department with archives. I'm firing you. Did you get the memo?
Such a douchebag. And this is pretty much the last time we see Falcone. Like, a side villain that really wasn't needed in this movie. And even with Scarecrow, you get more and more of him here. But still, like, I feel like those two characters were needed. Like, in a way, if they just focused it on Batman and the League of Shadows, it would have been much better. And you had a lot more detective work of who's doing these crimes in the city. And, little by little, Bruce Wayne finds out it's the League of Shadows. I feel like they're doing, the League of Shadows are doing so much. They're trying to create such a huge mystery that it would deviate from the whole point of them purging Gotham. Is the idea is that they want to spread the message, and why would you spread the message through someone else's actions? Wouldn't you want it to be well known that it is from the League of Shadows? It's not like, the cops are going to be like, oh yeah, the League of Shadows, we're going to go after them. Nobody knows who the League of Shadows are, so especially for their first attack, it should be like prevalent, much more prevalent. And I'm figuring these things out, as I'm going along. Because, like, every time I watch this movie, I realize more and more what it could have been. Still a great movie. I still think it's the best movie of the Nolan trilogy. But still, like, I sometimes think, what could have been?
This is where we meet Camillus.
Why would he show Rachel all of this? He could have just kidnapped her, tied her up. He could have tied her up here, but hey, it's like a predator when he's playing with his food. When he's when a predator is going when a predator is going after a prey, like a lion that's going or a tiger that's going after a gazelle. They know that they can get the gazelle, but they want to wear that gazelle out. I love the horror themes in this movie. A lot of things are way more horrific through the imagery. While in the following movie, The Dark Knight, it's much more of action. The action is horrific, more so than the stylized look. Here, it's the style. The imagery is so, there's a lot of horrifying imagery.
The things they say about him. Can you read it, Fly? He's ready to disappear.
Them speculating about Batman, that is such comic book stuff. Such comic book stuff. Because when you're in such a predicament, you're not going to be like talking about, the other person. You're just going to be, putting your defenses up. And again, as time goes on, Batman is less and less stealthy. He's just going straight up, and fighting them. Whatever happened to your gadgets, man? It's in the air. He can breathe it in. Batman can breathe it in as well. Right now. See, that is such dark comedy right there. Dark humor. And it works. It works. I love it. There's Katie Holmes' nipples just poking through her sweater. Yeah, if you get in there, I'm going to be right behind you. Yeah, Gordon just got in there and nobody's got his back. We still got like about an hour left in this movie. And you think now it's like, all right, we're close to the end. But no, we're still we're in the home stretch. Actually, more so in the halfway point than the home stretch.
Working for someone. Or just someone else. Someone worse. I need to get her the antidote before the damage becomes permanent. How long does she have? No long. What is that?
Back up. Even though that it's fantastical, even though that this doesn't make sense, it's still awesome. Not everything has to make sense, you know? When you're making a movie, especially a comic book movie, you need to give in to the source material sometimes. You know? If it's cool, freaking go for it. Make it as cool as you can. And this is so freaking cool. And the thing is like, the Batman movies never went back to like this balance of fantastical yet grounded. It just kept getting much more and more grounded, much more and more gritty and real. And that's not what Batman is about. It's not about that. It's more so about a grounded character. Run away? No, they're not gonna run away. So when it comes to Batman, I feel like he's much more a grounded character in a crazy world, in a world where everything is fantastical, everything is out of the ordinary. While here it's like it feels much more of a sense of, you're gonna have grounded character in a grounded environment where everything is grounded. This is why I love Batman Begins. Tank. Yeah, great way to say to calm down somebody. Calm down. You've been poisoned. You're gonna die soon. But relax. Yeah, breathe slowly as I'm going like 100 miles an hour. You're not giving me a chance to calm down there, Batman. Yeah, screw those cars, Somebody has a late payment on these cars, who cares? Got a lot of debt and stuff like that, yeah, you're gonna destroy it. It's not just government property, but also, hey, Gotham is not all like, it's not filled with just rich people. There's also people that are trying to get by. And he's like, no, forget it. I'm just trying to escape. This is why I'm saying, like, Batman shouldn't have a car. He shouldn't have a Batmobile. The whole point is him trying to blend in. Just excellent stuff. You know, again with the car chase. You know, Nolan knows how to shoot, you know, car chases and make it feel like you're in the midst of it. Much like Spielberg, I feel. You know, if you've ever watched the movie Duel from the 70s, which I believe it was the first Spielberg movie, it has that feeling. It does have that same feeling of like, oh my God, you know, these people are actually driving these cars that are getting into crazy situations. It's not CGI. It's not, you know. Although I do think that some of the stunts here are through miniatures, but it still feels real. You know, you feel it. Great shot. I love that shot. That tracking shot through the you know, you see the road and all that. That POV. It's a tank. I know it's black and it's dark, but at the same time, how can you not see it? Oh yeah, totally, totally, yeah. You missed that, but still, like, it's so cool that you get lost in it. No matter what you do, you cannot make a tank stealthy. It cannot be stealthy. The giant tires and the ground. That right there is a trailer shot, I guarantee you. There he goes, Rachel! It's a trailer shot. It's like a thermos. A coffee thermos. Yeah, right through the shirt. Yeah, that's smart. Don't you gotta check for a vein or something? Got it through her muscle. That's why I say it's like it's comic book stuff. You know, it's you suspend your disbelief a little bit.
Why haven't we felt the effects?
Absorbed through the lungs. Oh, okay. So if you drink like a glass of that, it does not affect you. Makes sense. Oh, she learned her lesson here. She's wearing a bra now. It's like she was distracting Batman so much that he went out there and bought her a bra. Here, you can have my bat bra.
I'm gonna give you a sedative. They'll wake up back at home. When you do, get these to Gordon. Gordon alone, trust me.
What are they?
The antidote. One for Gordon to inoculate himself, the other for mass production.
Mm-hmm.
Kramer's just a pawn. You need to be ready.
Can't you mass produce it? Can't you mass produce it yourself? I mean, you got a freaking Batcave. Hey, you know, again, suspend your disbelief. And this reminds me a lot of like the '89 version. There's a lot of things that it's kind of like a callback to the '89 version, especially here, where kind of reminds me of Vicky Vale,
When you told me you were ready,
being taken away in the Batcave.
the only thing that stopped me from calling the men in white coats was when you said that it wasn't about thirst. It's not. What would you call that? You have to tell us. It's a miracle no one was killed. We have time to observe the rules of the road. You got lost inside this monster of yours. I'm using this monster to help other people just like my father did. But Thomas Wayne helped.
You're helping other people, but at the same time, you're putting people in danger. Got it.
She was done.
But it is understandable. I totally get it. When Batman's like when Bruce is a vigilante, he's got tunnel vision.
We need to send these
He's got an objective. He tries to get that objective no matter what.
It's not
See, Michael Caine is acting his ass out in here. Like it really feels like he's a part of this movie. He's invested in this movie. And once I get to The Dark Knight, and believe me, like I said before, I got a lot of things to talk about The Dark Knight.
Have the stock operator. Nice as sword. Been flying all kinds of funds and brokerages. It's a bit technical. The key thing is the company's future is secure.
A little bit of dark humor here. Yeah, and it's Bruce Wayne's butler. What can we... I'm not going to say anything. Why would... Why would he... Why would he keep saying that? Scarecrow, scarecrow, scarecrow. Usually that happens when Scarecrow scares somebody. You know, but it was Batman who scared him, so he should have been like, Batman, Batman.
You're welcome. Well, you put it to good use. Oh, yeah. How long would it take to manufacture a large scale? Weeks. Why? Somebody's planning to disperse the toxin using the water supply.
Water supply won't help with dispersing in here.
What?
Unless you have a microwave emitter powerful enough to vaporize all the water in the mains. A microwave emitter like the one there in the box is just misplaced.
Mm-hmm.
Misplaced. Girl just fine with asking too many questions about it.
I need you to go back to Wayne Enterprises right now and start making more of that antidote. I think the police are going to need as much as they can get their hands on, okay?
My security person is revoked.
That would stop a man like you, man.
I suppose not.
See, like that banter is it's great. And Morgan Freeman is such a great, you know, side character. You know?
Am I pronouncing this right? Mr. Raz Al Ghul?
I want you to meet this person that's got his back turned.
Wants to die.
But is Raz Al Ghul immortal? Are his methods supernatural?
From cheap parlor tricks to conceal your true identity.
Surely a man who spends his nights scrambling up the rooftops of Gotham could be
And that is why I think that he should have been revealed earlier. I mean, this is a much better dynamic. This feels like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Because, like, this whole thing with Scarecrow and Falcone, you know, took you so far away from the meat of the story, the meat of the movie. I mean, just because you can give us a mystery doesn't mean, like, you know, it's... it doesn't mean, like, that mystery is intriguing, you know? You know, great job, Nolan, on giving us, you know, such a hard left of an idea to take it, to deter us from, like, the main point. But at the same time, it's it's not as compelling as if Roz was in the entire movie. You know, take away Scarecrow, take away Falcone, and make it more about that.
Please, go. Stop smiling. It's not a joke. Please leave. The party's over.
Christian Bale is acting his ass out in this movie. Like, he was so into this. And I love the idea of him not just showing the different sides of his acting, but also the different sides of Bruce Wayne.
Of course,
Victor Zsasz. We got another scene with Victor Zsasz. You know, like he could have been important. You know, where he's way too crazy. Because you know, Roz wants an army.
Every time a civilization reaches the pinnacle of its decadence, restore balance. Gotham is a fiancé.
I think Victor Zsasz could have been like a much better villain than Scarecrow, you know, to be focused on, because it really plays into the idea of should Batman kill. You see, you got a good look of his scars on his neck.
When I found you in that jail, you were lost.
Yeah, the more that I think of it, Victor Zsasz really should have been like the first mission for Batman.
Should be you standing by my side, saving
His first like side mission to go after, where he's got hostages, and really plays into the psyche of whether or not Bruce should kill or not. Yeah, we're gonna burn your house down, you know? Fuck your couch.
The movement back to harmony will be unstoppable this time. You was had Gotham before. Of course. Over the ages, our weapons have grown more sophisticated.
The thing with Liam Neeson is like I feel like his eyes can change color, where there are times where it's just freaking black, and he shows so much where it's like sometimes he can have the kind eyes, sometimes he can be freaking sadistic.
Create enough hunger and everyone becomes a criminal. That death's galvanized the city into saving yourself, and Gotham has limped on ever since. We are back to finish the job. And this time
Again, why Gotham? Why Gotham? We haven't seen anything, you know, throughout the trilogy that really showed you that, hey, Gotham has such a rich history, that Gotham is so important, and there's a reason why, like, there's a reason why people want to take over Gotham or want to thrive in Gotham.
my house and left it for dead. That's the rest of it.
This is the only time in the trilogy where the city felt like it has its own character, where the settings have their own character. You got Wayne Manor, you got the slums, you got Gotham, you know, where every setting feels different. You know, that's what I like about Batman Begins more so than the other movies, is everything feels alive. You know, you go into the Dark Knight and it's just utopia. It's just a big city, you know, like any other big city that you would see in film. While here, it feels distinctive. It feels different. Every setting feels different. And there we have Thomas and Martha. They're getting more screen time, even if it's through pictures. There we go. Michael Caine is actually doing stuff. You know, he's an important part of the movie.
What's the point of all that push-ups if you can't even lift a bloody log?
A little bit of humor. I like it. What if he screwed up like the piano keys, and then it just there was a failsafe or like there's some sort of detonation. Wayne Manor would have exploded, and that would have been the last of Bruce Wayne. Credits. See, what was the point of that? What was the point of that? Showing that Bruce is hurt and he got, I don't know, stabbed or something? Because it never comes up later on. He doesn't patch himself up. Alfred doesn't like get any medical supplies. And it just, after that, it just goes into Bruce becoming Batman. That's it. The horses. Oh, policemen and horses. It's like, what is this? The 1910s? I think it is still a thing, but at the same time, it's like, why? You got cars. Actually, horses are much more expensive than cars.
Alright, last one across. Patrol!
Can't find my mom.
Get away, kid. It's like, Katie Holmes comes in and she's like, hey, don't do that. Smell my finger? It's like, what was that about? Liam Neeson is going to play now Sub-Zero. He's like, screw this character. I'm not playing Alucard anymore. I'm playing Sub-Zero now. That's a beautiful monitor, by the way. Imagine watching Netflix on that. Like, screw security. That's, you see, again, horrifying imagery. He should have, you see, he should have said, I always wanted to do that. He should have said that, I know it's cliched, but it makes sense. Or the falafel guy should have been the one that hit him from behind. It's like, always wanted to do that. See, so many gadgets. Batman doesn't need all these gadgets. Everybody is already like... Is that somebody biting? One of the prisoners biting like one of the civilians? Cannibalism is going on. It's like, I'm scared of you, so I'm gonna eat you. But yeah, like, Batman doesn't need all of that high-tech stuff. It's like, already... everybody's entrenched into this like fear toxin, so you're gonna be using, smoke grenades? Why? Nobody left to send in, and that's his cue. I love that. Again, I'm nitpicking a lot of the stuff going on in this movie, and it's nowhere near like a perfect movie. I mean, like, what movie is? But at the same time, I am really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this, despite me nitpicking all of these things. And it's one of those things where you don't really notice. Like I didn't notice like 95% of the stuff that I would nitpick now, first time watching it, and most of the time, even when I'm not talking about it, I'm just sucked in to this movie. This is the most I've ever talked, during a movie, because usually I'm just so into it, into what's going on. Scarecrow is such a pussy. he just, he's gone. And why isn't the kid scared of Rachel? Why isn't he scared of her? I mean, like, is the toxin differentiating like who the person should be scared of? That's not how you take the safety. See, I always hated in movies whenever, they just pull the trigger. That's not how it goes.
Wait. If he died, at least tell me her name.
At least tell me. Why would you want to know his name? At least say, like, I want to tell your story.
But what I do defines me.
But what I do that defines me. Such an amazing shot. All of this. Him turning into like this scary protector. Great shot. Liam Neeson. Freaking Sub-Zero.
Oh well, you took my advice about the theatricality of it? Good for you. And you and the police, maybe. My fate, however, lies with the rest of government. Now,
See, I like that voice where it's whispery, much more so than gravelly. But then again, I understand why he went for the more gravelly voice. That look is so badass. That's like, come get some. But again, shaky cam. Ah. Again, terrifying imagery right there. I really feel like Nolan should have directed a horror movie at some point. I really think that he could add a lot of great stuff to the horror genre. That right there is just it feels like it's part of like the friggin' zombie movie, like Land of the Dead or something. Boom. And he takes one of those guys with him, and then that guy falls. Great. I love it. That looks like it was inspired by Batman Forever. With Batman just,
Lowering all the price. And if that pressure reaches us, the water supply right across the whole city is going to flow.
I'm giving it all I can, Captain. I think he was in Star Trek. Not sure. Not a huge Star Trek fan, but I know a lot of the, iconic characters and moments. A lot of cuts. A lot of cuts. That is the thing that really bothers me in these Nolan movies is the cuts. More so here. I feel like he does get better as time goes on when it comes to that. But it's very tense. It's a tense situation, and you feel like you're in overdrive the entire time. Great shot of the city. Roller coaster ride. It's gonna blow. Nice ride. I want to. It's like, what are you doing? See, what is even going on here? I'm lost. All I saw was the knee. Gordon looks like he's trying to get a prize from one of these claw machines, like from Toy Story, where he's trying to get the little alien. That is a cool shot right there. Like using the batarangs like brass knucks. And he killed Ra's al Ghul. He killed him. Say what you want, you know? There's no way around it. He killed Ra's al Ghul. And it was a choice. That was the thing. It was a choice. It wasn't like it wasn't one of those situations where it was like his back was up against the wall. No, he could have saved him. Could have saved him and Roz could have been taken to custody, but I guess the idea was that Nolan was saying like, hey, if Liam Neeson is not going to come back, for a sequel, then might as well just kill him off. There could have been better ways to kill him off, but hey, they chose this. And that is the only problem that I have in this movie, like one glaring problem. I do have a few nitpicks and a couple of minor, minor things that I didn't like, but overall, this was a great movie, awesome movie. One of the best superhero movies ever. I'd definitely put it in like the top 10 of the 21st century.
Bruce Wayne, what makes you think you can decide who's running Wayne Enterprises? The fact that I'm the owner. What are you talking about? The company went public a week ago, and I bought most of the shares. Various charitable foundations, trusts, and so forth. Look, it's all a bit technical, but the important thing is that my company's future.
A lot of the callbacks to this guy, a lot of the callbacks, all the things that he said before, bit him in the ass. Didn't you get the memo? That as well was another thing that he said. Mr. Douchebag got his comeuppance at the end. I really wish that Katie Holmes would have come back, for the sequels, because like she was good. She's a great actress, and she was really good in this.
I was a coward. Justice is about more than revenge.
Even though that she has a look on her face where all the time where it's like, I'm in a Batman movie. This is awesome. Hey, I'd be giddy as well.
And I found out about your mask.
The gimp mask. And I can't be with you. I'm sorry.
It's your mask. Your real face is the one that proves not fear. And I loved. Man who vanished. You never came back at all.
That's the thing. There were childhood friends, but
Maybe you still love them.
I don't know. The fact that they were childhood friends kind of makes it a little weird because childhood friends. Not saying that it never happens, but usually when you have a childhood friend, you kind of feel like that person is a sibling much more so than like a romantic. Somebody that you would have a romantic relationship with. And again, Katie Holmes is not wearing a bra. Hey, I'm not complaining. Just saying. But yeah, like we never saw any romance between them before. There was nothing romantic. And here it's just like it's out of nowhere. It's like, oh, the man I loved and stuff like that. It's like, what? Again, the creepy dad. Come on, why'd you? It was bad enough to show us one time, but again, you show it again, and it's like, as if it's like, oh my god, this is such an emotional scene. Yeah, maybe to some, but it's creepy. I don't know. For some reason, Katie Holmes looks like she's got a third nipple. I don't know. This is something that I noticed.
Might be a good opportunity for you.
When you watch something many times, you tend to notice new things. What a beautiful house. You had to tear it down. I think the budget for this movie was like 200 mil or something. And they broke even. They made their money back.
Couldn't find any bomb boxes.
That's the thing. They cut before somebody finishes their sentence. It's like they say something, then they cut to like a different point of view. It's like, let him finish.
Well, they still haven't picked up Crane or half the inmates of Arkham in the free.
You will. You can.
What about escalation?
Escalation.
We start carrying semi-automatics, they buy oil. We start wearing Kevlar. They buy armor kissing that. And you're wearing a mask. Something else this time. Take this one. Armed robbery, double homicide. Chase with a theatrical like you. Waves a color.
Seeing this for the first time, I remember replaying this scene multiple times. This is the greatest hook for a movie lead-in to a sequel that I've seen like ever. One of the greatest, definitely in like the top 5 best lead-ins, best hook to a movie that I've seen. That was Batman Begins. I remember seeing that like multiple times with seeing that and me thinking like, oh my god, it's going to be the Joker. The Joker is going to be in the sequel. It's awesome. My favorite villain of all time is going to be in the sequel. That's awesome. And I was so pumped for The Dark Knight. And we'll get to it. We'll get to The Dark Knight. But this was a great movie. Great movie. I was thinking about doing like a review, like maybe like a 15 20 minute review, and like talking about all the things. But I think this was a great way of like pretty much reviewing the entire thing, because when I think of review, I think like actually watching the movie and talking about it scene by scene. And there wasn't much for me to talk about it scene by scene, but at the same time, I hope that I gave you an overall view of what I think of Batman Begins, because I really think that it's a great movie. It is a milestone. I feel like it is a milestone where comic book movies really took a turn to the more serious stuff, where comic book movies were looked more as as a serious genre, more so than, oh, there we go, Ken Watanabe. So I was right. So it's because before that, sure, we had Blade, we had X-Men, we had the Spider-Man movies, but I feel like those were playing more so that, hey, comic book movies are adult stuff, but this was breaking the mold and pretty much recreating and saying like, hey, the comic book movies are not just a genre on their own, but they can cross over. They can be psychological thrillers. They can be an adventure. Why are they their own genre? Comic book movies are not their own genre. It's not a niche, thing type of. It's not a niche type of cinema. It can be, because when you look at Batman, when you look at The Dark Knight, it's not, when you talk to people about The Dark Knight, it's not a comic book movie. It's more, hey, it's a cop movie. It's a buddy cop, action, drama, adventure, all that sort of stuff. I mean, even like non-comic book fans, I think that they would enjoy this. They probably enjoy the Nolan trilogy a lot more than any of the other movies. They see it as the much more serious stuff. They see it as the much more serious side of it. Where they're like, hey, the other movies might be like for kids, but this is much more for adults, even though that you got a man dressed as a bat driving a freaking tank, across town, but still, it's much more adult. The themes are much more adult, and I love it. I love this movie. I've seen it multiple times. I think this is the movie that I've seen the most out of the Nolan trilogy, and mainly because when it came out, I saw it multiple times, and then from then on, it was like, hey, you see Batman Begins, you gotta watch The Dark Knight. When you watch The Dark Knight, you gotta watch Dark Knight Rises. It's not one of those things where it's like, okay, I watch Batman Begins, and yeah, I'm satisfied. No, right now, I really want to watch The Dark Knight, even though that I think that Batman Begins is a better movie. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I gotta say going on right now. And as the credits are rolling, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. I'm really looking forward to The Dark Knight. There are a lot of things that I really got to say about The Dark Knight. The thing that I like about this movie, though, more than the other movies is, like I said before, is it really delves into more the how it can balance realism with the fantastical, with the strange, with the crazy stuff, with the fear toxins and the League of Shadows stuff and all the imagery. It's the furthest that Nolan has gotten with this, and the other movies are just much more grounded. And honestly, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of grounding the story. You can ground your superhero, but you can't ground the story. You gotta give in. You got to give in to the lore of the character. There are characters that are fantastical, and to clash with that, you got to have a much more realistic setting, like with Superman and Man of Steel, where Superman is like this fantastical character, but in a much more realistic setting. That's what I love about Man of Steel. And here, it's a fantastical setting with a grounded character. But then, as you go on, it's a grounded character in a grounded setting. It's, yeah. But yeah, like I really love Batman Begins. And yeah, I think I'm ready to end this right here. So, with that being said, like, comment, and subscribe. Ding that bell icon to be notified in future episodes on the Variety Vendor channel. And check out my next video where we talk about something else. Take care.